Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube, and today is Sunday, June 5th. So, surprise, yes, I normally do not record on Sunday. However, the day just transpired and I thought, well, I got some time and some things to talk about, so let's do a video. So it was, yesterday was really nice weather, and so was today. So yesterday, Bill and I decided to go to our local park. We got lunch at Subway, which was very good. Took our camping chairs, went and sat at the local park, and we were there for a couple of hours. And then we had a plan to go to Costco. We had to get like ground beef, chicken, things like that. So we did that, and then by the time we got home and unpacked everything and did everything, it was, I'm going to say it was almost 4 o'clock, and I was beat. Like, that kind of stuff like wears me out now. So I said there is no video going to happen. So that's why I did a community post and said, you know, no video today. So we had a good dinner. We sat outside last night. We did a fire in our fire pit for the first time. We made s'mores, which, good God, I had bought these jumbo marshmallows. One of them is way too much. I had literally marshmallow on my face, on my fingers. I had it on my pants. I had it everywhere. And so, you know, you should tear those big marshmallows in half because half of it is perfect. So while we were at Costco, I also got a case of this sparkling ice. I love these. And I've never had this flavor, the strawberry watermelon. It tastes like a Jolly Rancher. So it comes with lemon lime, which is good, strawberry watermelon, and then black cherry. But a whole case of them for like $7.97. Cheap. Really cheap. So I like those very much, so I got those. You know, I'm trying to be really conscious of what I spend on groceries, just everything. And I've come to the conclusion that, man, am I tired of spending a bunch of money on makeup. Really tired of that, because I have tried a couple different foundations and things, and I find as I get older, I feel like I'm really starting to show my age a little bit. And my skin, my skin and my hair just are not the same as when I was 20, you know. So you just have to go with it, because I was telling Bill, I'm like, you know, I'm someone that's going to age organically. I don't feel like I'm the kind of person that will ever get like plastic surgery and things like that. No. I will color my hair. That's the one thing that I do. But makeup, and I don't want to spend a bunch of time putting it on anymore. So I actually bought from Amazon some beauty balms where it's more like moisturizer. And I tried one today and I actually liked it pretty much. But like eyeshadow, eyeliner, I'm so overspending tons of money on that kind of stuff. Like the brands that are in the drugstore, like NYX, Wet n Wild, their makeup is not bad. And and on Amazon, it's really cheap. Like the lip gloss I get when I want like real color, I get Rimmel. It's like $3 on Amazon. $3? I mean, yeah. So I also had to order some socks today. When I get a hole in a pair of my socks, they go in the trash. And the last 2 days, I put on 2 pairs of socks, had holes in them, done. No. So I need to get some socks. So I ordered some of those from Amazon. So we get up this morning. Now, normally on Sundays, we sort of have a routine. We get up in the morning, we do the Wordle, I get some coffee, we sit down, we watch some TV, we wait for groceries to come, and then we will go about our day, where he'll be outside, I do some stitching, reading, whatever. When we were at Costco yesterday and we got ground beef. Now we get the ground beef in bulk there because it's only like $4 a pound. And we'll come home and we'll put it in freezer bags. We'll divvy it up into pound increments and divvy it up and put it in the freezer. We were out of freezer bags, which I had ordered for groceries today. So we just put the big pack of ground beef in the refrigerator. So the groceries come, and it's about 9 o'clock in the morning. And when I'm putting groceries away, I go in the refrigerator, and I'm like, it looks like the meat leaked, like leaked blood, you know, on the shelf. Oh, did it? It was a whammy. It had leaked over the entire shelf so much that it like cemented the, we have a 12-pack of Pepsi and Diet Pepsi in there. It cemented that on the shelf. So I had to rip that off, pull everything off the shelf, and it was the shelf that has our lunch meat tray. So it even leaked into the tray. So we had to just pull the whole shelf out of the refrigerator. So we clean it, and Bill's already irritated by having to do that. Then we can't figure out how to get it back in the refrigerator. Then when I tell you, this took us like a half hour, and I'm telling you, Bill was he was so irritated and beside himself that, you know, someone's energy, like then it made me feel irritated and anxious. And let me tell you, little things like that happen in your house really test your marriage. They really can test the way that you work together in times of trouble. He was so wound up and like bouncing off the walls that I was just trying to be calm, because both of us acting like that would have just been like a powder keg. So we finally get that done. We get the meat now. And when he had packaged up the ground beef, he just puts it in a bowl. And normally we flatten it in the Ziploc bag and seal it shut. Well, I wanted to kind of get some of the air out of the bag. So I start to close it, and he says, you have to flatten it. I know. Give me a second. I'm going to flatten it. Like, that was the kind of attitude I was getting. And I thought, oh my God, right? So that threw a complete wrench in our Sunday, because we were having a pretty good morning up until that time. So we got that done, and I had to make up meatloaf because we're having meatloaf for dinner tonight. So the trash was filled, and I said, just leave the trash. After I do the meatloaf, I will empty the trash. I said, I'm going to go get dressed, and then I'm going to make up the meatloaf. So he went outside. He went outside just to get away from it, sit in the shed. So I get dressed, I make up the meatloaf, and I realize I use the rest of the ketchup. Now, Bill uses ketchup on literally everything. He puts it on everything. So I said, I'm going to have to go to the grocery store, which I was okay with. I mean, it is what it is. Plus, I wanted to get a small can of tomato paste to put on top of the meatloaf. So I get dressed, I make up the meatloaf, I put it in the refrigerator, and I pull out laundry because I did laundry, so now I have to put that away. So I get myself ready, get my sunglasses on, keys, purse. I walk out back. He says, where are you going? I said, we're out of ketchup. He was like, really? We are? I said, yeah. I said, so plus I want tomato paste for the meatloaf. I said, I'll be back. So I went to, there's a couple grocery stores within a close vicinity of us, but I decided to go to Food Lion. And in the parking lot of Food Lion is a McDonald's. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to surprise him. I'm going to get us lunch. Now, when I came out of Food Lion, I also picked him up a Butterfinger candy bar. Like, I like to pick him up little treats when I go to the store. It was like 10:40 in the morning. And I'm like, I don't know if this McDonald's stopped serving lunch at 10:30 or at 11. Of course, it was 11. So I don't really care for McDonald's breakfast. So I was already in line and I couldn't get out of the drive-through line. So I got him breakfast, and I just thought, well, I'll just get home. I'll find something to heat up there, and I'll just sit with him while he eats. So I get home, I put the stuff in, and I go out back, and I'm like, oh, I got you. And when I walked out back, he was cleaning hatches for the boat. And he had calmed down considerably, like since what had happened about an hour earlier. And he was surprised to see that I brought him McDonald's. And I said, yeah, I didn't get myself anything because he's like, do you want to eat out here? And I said, well, I didn't get myself anything because I don't care for their breakfast. I said, but I'm going to heat something up and then I'll come back out. So we sat outside for like a good half hour. And then we were just kind of recounting and laughing about what had happened earlier. But good God, in the moment, man, yeah. So he just went to our neighbor's house to help him with something, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do a video because I want to do an unexplained mystery. Haven't done that in a while. Read a good story. Talk to you about my stitching and coloring because it's changed a little bit from what I'm gonna do. Yeah. All right, so Friday, I didn't do any stitching or coloring yesterday. Friday, I did do some stitching on that colorful woman with the hair, and I wasn't feeling it. I'm going to be honest. I just wasn't feeling it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start my next smallest project for my junk journal, which is the Primrose Cottage Stitches Be Happy. And remember, I'm going to stitch it. I'm going to stitch it in 3 pieces because this is be happy, be humble, be kind. Because of the way that, I don't have the junk journal right here, but the way the junk journal is, it can fit like each piece on one page. And then I have a whole scrapbook layout that I can use for all 3 of these. So, because these are pretty small. They're only like each one on 18 count because I'm going to stitch it on the 18 count perforated paper. It's only 2.5 by 2.5, so pretty small. So there will be plenty of room for doodads and paper and all that good stuff. So, and it only calls for 5 DMC colors right there on the back. So I pulled those. Yeah. And so I also cut the paper. So here are the little squares of paper. And then here is the first one. And this is the washi tape I'm using. It's actually really pretty. It's like a light pink with gold. And this may be, I may leave that paper on there. I really like to do a border with the washi tape now. It really adds to it, I think. But washi tape, there are different ones. Some are really sticky, some are not. I now am finding the ones that don't stick. I'm just throwing them away because they get on my nerves. This one really sticks because I did this last night, and when I came in here and looked, it's not coming up. You can tell if it like starts to peel up again. And someone had asked me a question a while ago about where do I get my washi tape. I've gotten them at all different places. Any kind of craft store sells them. Michael's, Hobby Lobby. I've gotten most of mine from scrapbook.com because they just sell a ton of it for scrapbooking. But yeah, so that's the needle minder I'm going to use. I don't know where I got that needle minder. I have no idea, but it's a cute little butterfly. So yeah, these are going to be really fun to stitch. And I realized when I went to stitch the woman with the hair, I really don't like to stitch stuff that doesn't go in the junk journal now because I've just had so much fun putting that stuff in there. So yeah, so going to be working on that. And then coloring. So the next page I'm going to color is also out of the Hannah Lynn Artist Edition of the Sweet and Whimsy Girls. This is called Sweet Selena. And this one is very beautiful. She's got like candy. It's like done in mostly pinks and browns, except like some of the candy hearts are different colors. So this one should be really fun to do. Yeah. I probably will sit here and color maybe tonight downstairs. Maybe. We'll see. But in the mail yesterday, oh, before I show you that, I had been looking for, oh, I need to get my pencil case. I organized all my pencils yesterday. I need to show you that. I meant to grab that and I forgot. So I'm always on the lookout for like color charts of combinations and things like that. Now this was $5 that I paid for, and I will link it down below. It is by Sandy Allnock. She did it, and I printed this on my color printer, which, man, am I glad I have that other printer now. But this is a Prismacolor hex chart, which is, it's a chart of the swatches of the pencils, and it lets you see similar colors adjacent to each other, because when I color, I will do like, if I do hair brown, I will do 3 shades of brown, right? A light, a dark, a light, a medium, a dark. So this chart is so fantastic because you could do like, okay, here are 3 colors that go together. It's easier to see them like this And so I will link this down below if you want to purchase it. I thought it was worth $5 for sure because someone took the time to swatch all of these pencils and do all of that. Yeah, very, very cool. So I purchased that. And then remember, because I am an artist edition, like VIP for Hannah Lynn's Patreon, I know it's a little pricey, but I feel like it's worth it because by the end of like the 12 months, I will have all of her coloring books for sure. Because as part of the artist VIP, you get a free PDF coloring book every month. You also get a free artist edition, which is on the artist edition paper and spiral bound. She will mail it to you. Plus all of the extra pages that she does during the month, because she does extra artwork for you. You get all of those printed on the artist edition paper and sent with the coloring book. So the coloring book I got for May, and I'm going to have to pick June's book here. She'll probably be messaging me any day now. I got Mythical Maidens and Curious Creatures. Now, I have this diamond painting from Diamond Art Club. What I like about her spiral books is that it's at the top. And yeah, I mean, her artwork, I just love. Ooh, I love this one. Look at this one. I love those so very much. I love her artwork. And so it was worth it for me. What I really loved was getting the extra pages printed on the artist paper. She did that one. So I got that one. And then she did, like, if you didn't feel like doing the background, she did a closer up one, which I love that one. She also does it as a calendar page, a journal page, which I love the journal pages because I could just color that on the bottom and put that in the junk journal. And she also does like smaller ACEO cards and like bookmarks. Like those could be bookmarks that you could color. And then she did an even bigger one. And then she did, this is the final one. She did that one. Like, I mean, she is a very prolific artist in that every month she is doing multiple new artwork. That these will not be released in coloring books, I don't think. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So let me pause and go grab my coloring pencil thing because I want to show you guys that. Okay, I meant to pause the video instead of stopping it, but I stopped it by accident. So before I show you the pencils, there's something else I wanted to show you that I got too. This is to organize my stickles. This is called I'm going to say it's a Best Craft Organizer. It's a Dazzle Caddy. See how it says Dazzle Caddy on it? I got this from Mr. Art online. The bottles all fit perfectly upside down. So 10 of them. I have 2 of these because I have 20 colors. But I love the stickles so much. But yeah, I forgot to show you guys that I got that to organize them. So very cool. But here is the pencil case I got. And each thing unzippers. And then you can see how I have the pencils. So I put the numbered stickers. And so I have them all in numerical order. Oh, and that's another thing that's so funny. So remember I was wondering why the Prismacolor pencils are, if I remember, I will link the pencil case. I will also link this case and the Prismacolor chart. I was wondering why Prismacolor chose to, excuse me, number their colored pencils the way they did, because there's like 5 in the 100s, 2 in the 200s, and then it goes all the way to, most of the pencils are in the 900s, the 1000s, and 1100s. Why? That makes no sense to me. So I actually tried to do some research online and couldn't find anything. I decided to just message Prismacolor. And I did. And they wrote me back. And they said, there really is no rhyme or reason to why they're numbered like that. It's just so we can identify each pencil. What does that mean? That made no sense at all. It was like, okay, so that's just going to be a mystery that's going to be unexplained unless someone can explain it to me, because perplexed there. All right, let's read A Baffling Unsolved Mystery. This one is called The Final Exam. Anyone who has ever sat for an important exam will understand the anxiety that goes with it. No matter how well you've prepared, you just can't stop those butterflies flitting around in your stomach. Your mouth is dry, your palms are clammy, your gut is clenched. It may not be life and death, but it sure feels like it at that moment. This was likely how 18-year-old Lynn Schultz was feeling on the morning of December 10th, 1971. Lynn was a freshman at Middlebury College campus in Middlebury, Vermont, sitting the first big exam of her first semester at the school. Today's test was for one of her favorite classes, English drama, and Lynn had studied hard for it. Still, she was feeling a little anxious as the hours ticked torturously by. Last-minute revision wasn't sinking in, and so Lynn decided to take a walk into town. Perhaps the brisk December air would alleviate her stress. She was seen leaving her dorm room at 12:15. About 15 minutes later, she was spotted outside a health food store, All Good Things, eating some dried fruit that she had bought. There, she struck up a conversation with a stranger, telling her that she was going to take a bus to New York. This seemed odd to the woman since the bus had already departed. What? In any case, Lynn wasn't about to board a bus, not when she had an important exam to take. By 12:50, she was back in her dorm room. 5 minutes later, she was walking with classmates towards the exam hall. Then she stopped suddenly and told her friends that she had left her lucky pen in her room and had to run back to fetch it. Before any of them could respond, she was sprinting back down the corridor. By 1:00 p.m., the students were all seated at their desks as the exam papers were handed out. All were present but Lynn Schultz. She had yet to appear, and she would not appear at all. In fact, Lynn Schultz had disappeared entirely. After the exam, her friends went up to her room, thinking they'd find her there with a bad case of the jitters that had caused her to miss the test. Instead, they found the room empty. Lynn wasn't there, but her wallet, purse, identification, and other personal belongings were. To her friends, that meant that Lynn had not gone far and would be back soon, only she wasn't. 2 days passed without any sign of the college freshman, and that was when the police were called in. Oh boy. The initial focus of the investigation was to track Lynn Schultz's last known movements. The police soon learned that she had visited All Good Things at around 12:30 and then engaged in that perplexing conversation about going to New York. Thereafter, she had presumably walked back to her dorm where she was with friends up until 5 minutes before the exam was due to start. That accounted for Lynn's whereabouts up until 12:55. The more important question was what had happened to her after that last sighting. As the Middlebury police continued their inquiries, they learned that Lynn had been sighted at around 2:15 p.m. standing at the bus stop. What? Several witnesses claimed to have seen her, but no one could say if she had boarded a bus. After that, Lynn Schultz simply vanishes. Bizarro. Inquiries in Middlebury were ongoing. Meanwhile, Lynn's family was oblivious to her disappearance. It would be 5 days before they were informed. That was because the police were confident that there was a simple answer to the riddle of Lynn's vanishing. Certainly, they did not suspect foul play. To them, this was a clear case of a young woman stressed out over her final exams who had decided that she needed a timeout. They were convinced that she would soon words are hard. They were convinced that she would soon show up, and that belief was backed by Lynn's friends and classmates. According to them, Lynn had indeed been stressed. She had been having trouble adapting to college life and had been suffering from homesickness. She had even confided a bizarre plan to fake her death and disappear to start her life over somewhere else. No one had taken her seriously. Why would you even say that? As you might imagine, this was an incredibly stressful time for the Schultz family. Despite the assurances given by the police, they suspected from the start that something bad had happened to Lynn. She was just not the kind of girl to disappear without letting anyone know where she was. Still, the family worked the phones. Lynn had a network of high school friends throughout New England. She regularly spoke with them on the phone and sometimes visited. Unfortunately, none of them had seen her or heard from her. Everything now rested on Christmas. Remember, it was December 10th when this happened. Everything now rested on Christmas, a holiday that Lynn had been looking forward to spending at home. Surely she would show up for Christmas. Even if she had had some reason for dropping out of sight, surely she would not let her family suffer through the holidays worrying about her. But December 25th came and went. 1971 edged toward its close, and still there was no sign of the missing freshman. That was when Lynn's loved ones knew in their heart of hearts that she was dead. Incredibly, half a century has now passed since the disappearance of Lynn Schultz. The case has long since gone cold, even though it continues to be worked by the Middlebury police if and when new leads come up. Those leads have been few and far between, although investigators made a startling discovery in 2015. A very viable suspect had been flying below their radars all this time. During her time in Middlebury, Lynn Schultz had been fond of visiting the small specialty stores lining its main street. One of her favorites had been a knick-knack shop called Little Wings. Another was the health food store All Good Things, which she had visited on the day she went missing. It turns out that the man running the store at that time is one of America's most notorious murderers and quite possibly a serial killer. Is that based? There was a show, and I don't know if I watched it, with, who was the guy that starred in The Notebook as Noah? His character. Him. He was in a show and it was called All Good Things. Robert Durst was the son of a New York City real estate magnate and heir to a fortune. During the early 1970s, however, Durst was estranged from his family and living in Middlebury, where he operated the small health food store with his wife, Kathleen. He closed the store and returned to New York in 1973. Durst would later gain notoriety after he became a suspect in the still unsolved disappearance of his wife in 1982. He would later be convicted of the 2000 murder of his longtime friend Susan Berman. In addition, Durst was tried for the 2001 killing of his neighbor Morris Black in Galveston, Texas. He was acquitted on that charge, although convicted of dismembering Black and dumping his body parts in Galveston Bay. Durst has also been connected to several other disappearances. He is currently serving a life sentence in California. So here we are able to place Lynn Schultz in close proximity to a notorious killer right around the time of her inexplicable disappearance. Does that mean that she was murdered by Robert Durst? It's possible, of course, although there is no evidence that points directly to Durst's involvement. If he did kill Lynn, he did a good job of covering his tracks. The unfortunate truth is that we will probably never know what happened to Lynn. Too much time has passed in a case that never offered up too many clues in the first place. We can, however, draw some conclusions from the scant evidence that is available. The first of those conclusions is that Lynn left the Middlebury College campus under her own volition. It is highly improbable that someone could have abducted her from such a public place without anyone noticing. And now the question arises, why would the young woman have walked away? The exam she was about to write was on her favorite subject and she was well prepared for it, so why walk away now, right? We don't know the answer to that question, but we do know the effect of stress on the human mind. Lynn had been an academic star at high school, but only a middling student at college. High achievers can find it hard to adapt to such a change of status. Perhaps that was at the root of her unhappiness. Perhaps that is why she spoke of leaving it all behind and starting anew. Did she decide on the eve of her first big exam that she could not go through with it? Did she suffer some mental break at the last moment and simply walk away? These are perplexing, unanswered questions made even more so by the fact that Lynn left all of her personal belongings behind. Yeah, that's so bizarre. We do know that she may have had around $30 in her possession when she went missing, more than enough to board a bus out of town. We do know that she was seen in the vicinity of the bus station, although there was no indication that she ever rode a bus out of Middlebury. Perhaps she accepted a ride from a stranger before her bus arrived. Perhaps that stranger turned out to be a killer. So many questions, so few answers. Wow. That family, I mean, to have it unresolved all these years, crazy. Just crazy, nutty, cuckoo. Okay, I'm still reading The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. Oh my good God. I only have 28 pages left, and man, it is, the last half of the book, holy hell. I also today, and I'm going to read you the premise, I pre-ordered Riley Sager's new book, which is coming out June 21st of this year. As you know, I always get his book in hardcover, and then I will read it and pass it on to one of you guys. I actually like saving the book until our vacation in September for Labor Day. I don't know if I can wait that long. I might wait and take it with me to the New Jersey retreat and read that in my room when I'm there. So I'm debating, but here is what it is about. It sounds really good. I have read every single thing he's written. Okay, it is called The House Across the Lake. Casey Fletcher, a recently widowed actress trying to escape a streak of bad press, has retreated to the peace and quiet of her family's lake house in Vermont. Armed with a pair of binoculars and several bottles of bourbon, she passes the time watching Tom and Catherine Royce, the glamorous couple living in the house across the lake. They make for good viewing. A tech innovator, Tom is powerful, and a former model, Catherine is gorgeous. One day on the lake, Casey saves Catherine from drowning, and the two strike up a budding friendship. Excuse me. But the more they get to know each other, and the longer Casey watches, it becomes clear that Catherine and Tom's marriage isn't as perfect as it appears. When Catherine suddenly vanishes, Casey immediately suspects Tom of foul play. What she doesn't realize is that there's more to the story than meets the eye, and that shocking secrets can lurk beneath the most placid of surfaces. Packed with sharp characters, psychological suspense, and gasp-worthy plot twists, Riley Sager's The House Across the Lake is the ultimate escapist read, no lake house required. Dude, I am there. That is so my kind of book. Holy crap, right? Yeah, looking forward to that very much. All right, let's see how long the next Small Miracle story is. If it's a shorty. Yeah, it's a short one. So we're going to read this one, and then we'll do the Unfuck Yourself entry that pertained to yesterday and today, and then we'll end the video. Okay. For 52 years, Robert Adkins thought his best friend Roy Stump was dead. After all, hadn't he cradled his dying friend's head in his lap and then watched a medic remove his dog tags? Everyone in the platoon was sure Roy was dead, Robert recalled one day in April 1996 as he chatted with a stranger in a waiting room at Lorain Community St. Joseph Regional Health Center in Lorain, Ohio. Robert was waiting for his wife Juanita to return from cataract surgery. The stranger was waiting for his brother-in-law, also in surgery, and somehow the conversation turned to World War II. We were stationed in Holland, and we were watching a buddy defuse an anti-tank mine when it blew up, Adkins said. The man working on the mine was killed, and shrapnel stuck Stump in the head, chest, and other parts of his body. The worst injury was the gaping head wound that Adkins tried to tend by applying pressure with his handkerchief, unmindful of a smaller wound in his own forehead. As they continued to talk, Robert, now 72 years old, was astonished to learn that the stranger, like him, had served in the 787th Anti-Aircraft Battalion in 1944. Skeptical about the coincidence, they began grilling each other as if in a test. "Who was the platoon sergeant?" Robert asked the stranger. The man answered correctly. "Was anyone killed in that battalion?" he shot back. "I just told you, my best buddy, Roy D. Stump," Robert replied. The man smiled and said, "I hate to disappoint you, but I am very much alive." "What?" Robert sat stunned. "I thought he was going to have a heart attack," Stump remembered. "I hadn't recognized him at first, but I knew who he was as soon as he said his nickname was Sloop. Mine was Little Red. I had bright red hair then," said Stump, stroking his gray crew cut. To prove his identity, the 71-year-old Stump produced a faded copy of his discharge papers and a driver's license with his name on it. Then the two men hugged, and everybody in the waiting room thought we were crazy, Robert said. Stump had been critically injured, but he hadn't died as the other platoon members had believed. An emergency operation in a field tent had saved his life, and he had been transferred to a hospital in Belgium where he remained for 18 months, recovering from 42 wounds, including one that left him with a metal plate in his head. By the time he got out of the hospital, the war was over, and he had no idea where the rest of the platoon members were living. He often wondered what had happened to his buddy Sloop. He always credited his friend, along with an Army-issue combination Bible, almanac, and dictionary, and a leather wallet he carried in his breast pocket, with saving his life. Shrapnel had torn through the wallet and Bible into his chest, but had missed his heart. In an odd twist of fate, both men moved to Lorain, Ohio after the war and raised families there. For more than 40 years, they lived only a few miles apart and never knew it. I probably drove by his house 3 or 4 times a week and didn't even know he lived there, Roy Stump said. The men have had no difficulty in picking up their friendship where it left off. The night after their chance meeting, they had dinner with their wives, and later that week they went to the Speedway together. And like the kids they were 42 years ago, they exchanged pocket knives. Can you imagine? Again, coincidence. Like, what are the odds that they would both be sitting in that waiting room? And wow, just wowza, right? These stories are something else. All right. So how are we going to continue to unfuck ourselves in 2022? Good tear. If the people in your life can't be themselves around you, what does that make you? Ooh, good one. Yeah, what does that say about you? Absolutely. Not a good thing, right? Okay. I hope you guys have all had a good weekend and that you have a good rest of your Sunday. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.